Look at that. You look beautiful.
Beautiful.
All right, you ready?
I'm ready.
Like, I can't mess up the beginning.
No.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Season Media Podcast, show number 2, back from a pretty long hiatus. I was off for like 2 months, but we're back, show number 2. Hope everyone checked out the last show. Show number 92 was with Winston Cole. This dude's going to be in the NBA, and when that happens in 4 years, I'm going to say, hey, I knew someone who's now in the NBA, and then that'll be it.
That'll be amazing.
Then I'll say, all right, bartender, another rum and Coke, please.
Amazing.
That is as much of a benefit I will get from that. Before we start, same old, same old. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcasting app. We're now on YouTube, so smash that like button and follow. That's what the kids say, smash.
Smash.
Smash. And don't forget to check out our sponsors, SoleMates. If you want to spend a crazy amount of money on shoes, there's only one place to go, and that's SoleMates. If you want a hard-to-find shoe, that's where you go. SMS206.com, solematesseattle.com, solemates206 on Instagram. Follow them. Any sneaker you can get. Rancho Bravo tacos. Man, those birria tacos, have you tried those yet?
I had them a long time ago.
Man, they are super good. You dip them in the consomme, and then you eat them, and then you eat like 3 or 4 more. They're super good, but they give me heartburn, but it's totally worth it. And then plus you can get a cheap margarita. You can go down this block, right, to what's that Mexican place called? Poquitos or Piquitos, whatever.
And Barrio.
You're going to spend $10-12 on a margarita. You go to Rancho, get an equally tasty margarita for half the price. Can't beat it. I go down and have like 2 margarita lunches.
Great. Congratulations.
During the day.
That's so great, Carlos.
I mean, sometimes you just, like I've had it with people, and it's like I need to go have.
You can go drink your troubles away.
I need to go drink my troubles away. It was one of my favorite shows is Mad Men. I don't know. Did you watch Mad Men?
Yeah, I watched it.
Like
it was my childhood. My parents, somewhat. I mean, a little bit before, but the residual.
Right. So that, I mean, it might not have been as cool as they make it seem. Although they did a pretty good job of.
It was pretty real.
Showing the other side.
Oh,
it wasn't all chrome and fanciness.
No, it was real.
But man,
from one perspective.
How cool would it be to have like a bar in your office, but then to have your coworkers come over and say, oh, let's go down to Shanahan's and have a 5 margarita lunch or 5 martini lunch.
Yeah, wow, that sounds like amazingly fun.
Man, it does actually. It really does.
No. I think I'll just stick with soda water.
It sounds super cool. But so I make my own version of that from having 2 margarita lunches
at Rancho Bravo.
And then the patio is awesome. So you can sit, people watching.
Yep.
There's been a lot of little markets popping up at Cal Anderson Park. I don't know what they're doing, but they're like selling clothes.
Oh, yeah, small permitted
pop-ups,
things.
Yeah. So check them out, Rancho Bravo. They cater. We've been getting lots of catering for bachelorette parties, for company parties. So they cater. Go to the website, ranchobravotacos.com. There's a nice little catering form that I made that you can do all of your requests there. So check them out. And then the third sponsor that we'll mention is Arcaro Boxing, which I have the pleasure of founder and CEO, Tricia here. Tricia, cheers. Thank you for coming.
Cheers.
Thank you for stopping by. Oh, you're going to have to get another drink.
It's cranberry juice.
We'll have to send the production assistant, Becky, to go get some later.
I'm good. I'm good. I have my ice cubes for my cranberry juice.
Well, Tricia, thanks so much for stopping by. You came by, 3 weeks ago, 2 weekends ago,
I think so.
to come see some MMA, to see UFC. You're not big on the UFC.
Not very big.
You
I'll
don't-
watch it sometimes though. I appreciate
We
it.
had a super conversation about UFC versus boxing.
Oh yeah, you think UFC is like crushing boxing, but I don't really see it that way.
So, and I'll admit, I may have been a few drinks in,
No.
but I remember the conversation well.
Probably more than me because I'm not that invested in whether or not. I just like this.
That's what I love about you. You know just when to hit the mute button on me.
Oh, I just don't.
If more people knew just when to hit the mute button on me,
yeah.
like everything would go by so much smoother.
If you hit that like button and then you hit the
Mute.
Yeah, and then you just hit Venmo, Arcaro Boxing. I'll keep him on mute for you. I'll do that work. No, dude, it's just, you're trying to, it's like I was saying to you earlier, this is not an us and them kind of thing. If UFC does well, boxing does well. Now, if boxing does well, UFC does well, just fighting in general. And I think both are doing well. The business is a different ball game. Like it's a different thing, but the fighting is going quite well. And there's a lot of really cool talent in boxing right now. There's a lot of good fights, a lot of fun fights, and a lot of youngsters getting opportunities that are up and coming, that are taking their careers into their own hands a little more, which might make it more interesting. I'm not sure. It's not, there's a big turnover about how promoters are handling things.
Right.
So, who knows what's going to happen? It's not UFC versus boxing.
You're absolutely right.
I just, like, if you like UFC, you're mostly going to watch UFC fights. And occasionally a boxing fight's going to catch your attention and you're going to watch it. And it's vice versa for me, like as a boxing person. Every once in a while there'll be a UFC fight. Somebody says, you got to watch this. I'll go watch it and I'll enjoy it.
Yeah. One of the guys that I listen to mostly for podcasting, he talks about how it is 2022 and you have a certain segment of the population that is screaming over, not to get too controversial here, but is screaming over, you're not calling me by the right pronoun. You are not doing this for the environment. You are not doing this for XYZ. But then you have a much bigger group of the population that still loves to see two people in either a squared circle or an octagon just beat the crap out of each other.
But I'm not sure that those are mutually exclusive.
No, it's not that they're mutually exclusive. Is that we have such a range. Like we were also talking about earlier about like with the humans have quite a range where you can be this and then 180 degrees.
But let's go back to the reason I think that's possible is because we have us and them.
Yeah.
Now, boxing to me is not us and them. It's not, you're not fighting your opponent. You're in there and you have the opportunity to bring the best out of yourself.
Right.
And you want to control the space and dominate the moments.
Right.
And then consequently, you'll dominate a person.
Yeah.
But that's not your focus.
So thinking of it completely in a sports way, 100%. But thinking it more as a culture, society way of how you bring out your best. I mean, we can fill up a whole room with a bunch of people that think that, that these combat sports should be banned because XYZ.
For sure.
Right? And then there's 100 reasons that they can probably think.
Yeah, and to be smart, like you could take each one of their reasons, go, yeah, I can see some validity to it.
Sure.
Yep, I could see some validity to it. However,
Right.
I'm a human being that is allowed to make my own risk.
Right.
Now, if it's a child, then that's a whole different ball game, and that's something a parent and the kid's going to have to deal with, and then you as a coach. I don't coach kids just because it's definitely not my forte, but
Right.
But those that do coach kids, it's a different ball game. I'm talking about, like when you talk about people who want to be referred to certain ways, that's all you're doing in the ring. You're saying you want to be a certain way.
Yeah.
You're expressing yourself. They're not different to me.
Right.
Maybe they exercise it differently, but it's no different. You just express what you want. I could say, like, you know, you're going to call me coach.
You know, in a sports bubble, that is the most logical thing. But outside of that, you know, there are plenty of, like, there was one, and this was a while ago, and there was a fight that I wanted to see. I don't remember what it was, but it was one of these Saturdays, starts at 5. And wife and I were walking downtown, and I went to one bar. They didn't have TVs. Went to another bar. They weren't showing it. Went to another bar, and I said, are you guys showing, I forget what the fight was. It actually, you know what? It might have been the Manny Pacquiao, Timothy Bradley fight.
Oh, dang.
I think it might have been that one, because we ultimately did find a place, this little tiny place that was showing it. But we went to this, the second to last place. I was like, are you guys showing this fight? And the girl just looked at me with the most disgusted face and said, no, we don't show those types of blood sports. And I was like, blood sports?
What?
It's like blood sports.
That's hilarious.
It was like, where, like, someone must have, like, where did she get the term blood sports? It's like, I'm sure, I don't think she came up with it.
Is there a video game like that has that?
Like,
that's amazing.
Like, right away, I went to, like, the movie Bloodsport, one of my all-time favorite movies. It's like, we're not watching to the death Kumite fighting here. It's like, we're watching state-sanctioned fights.
Yeah, that's
and
amazing.
It just made me laugh so much. So then now, you know, there's a little joke between wife and I where we'll just ask a place, and wife will say, they might not show blood sports here.
Hardly any place shows it, and also pay-per-view makes it impossible for a business.
That's why Mexico is awesome.
Yeah, they always have it.
They always have. Every place will have it.
Yeah.
Although if it's competing with soccer, you're not going to win. When
we were fighting in Tijuana, USA and Mexico were playing, and I was like, can we get out of here before like, you know, somebody loses or wins? Like, let's just get out of here quick.
They get.
Yeah. It was on the main drag in Tijuana there where Greg's fight was, and it's like, can we get out of here?
It is those soccer fans are
for reals.
I mean, I don't want to use the word fanatical, but
they're for reals.
They're fanatical. It was like some, you know, when there's MMA or UFC or boxing, I mean, they'll like the first few rows, right? They get all pumped up, and they're
usually with one of the fighters.
Yeah. So there's usually something, you know, extra going on. Yeah. But with soccer, the dude on the very top who has the crappiest seats is going to be as aggressive in his chanting and his FUs to the other team as the person who has the best seat sitting. Like, it doesn't taper. It's like the energy kind of tapers for these other events. Where at the top, it's like, okay, it's like, I'm at the very top. It's going to take me 30 minutes to walk down and get a beer. It's like, there's a little bit of that. But with anything, with soccer, with Mexican wrestling, I went to a Mexican wrestling, like a good old lucha libre fight in Mexico City once. Cool. I thought I was going to get murdered. Like, these people speak. Like, if you want to talk about aggressive language, there is aggressive, I will kill you, your mother, and your kids type of language. Like, I want you to burn, and like, I want to trample your ashes type of talk in the.
That
like,
sounds friendly.
And then what's so funny is that it's not who you think it would be, like young men. It is old women who are equally as eager to show their disdain for the opponent as the young kid is. And showing it. It was quite a sight. That's
amazing.
I was laughing so hard of watching all of these old people.
Well, I mean, right there, look at your...
Man, could you imagine her yelling?
Yeah, no, we're good. Like, right there, I'm already looking at the Godfather. She's the Godfather.
My mom was definitely the boss.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, or you could already see that. Like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, it's okay, dude. The gangsters are watching us. I'm minding my P's and Q's.
My mom would be the one who would beat the crap out of me. Mm-hmm. My dad never once spanked me or disciplined me.
He didn't have to. She took care of it.
She did it.
Yeah,
but still, when my mom said, "Wait till your dad gets home," I still knew that fear. But mostly it was because I knew that my dad was going to just give the go ahead to my mom for her to beat me.
Yeah, whoop his butt.
So there was definitely fear.
Yeah.
Okay, not fear. It was a healthy respect.
Whatever, the Godfather.
Yeah. I love that picture.
Yeah, that's awesome.
This was before they got married, I believe.
Oh, dang.
So this was this was their engagement.
Oh, that's sweet. Old school.
Yeah, I need to put that like in a better UV protective thing.
Yeah.
It's already, I don't think it was as pastel-y
Yeah,
when
you
they
gotta
made
be
it.
careful of
I gotta put that.
Gotta get it right.
Yeah. But back to this. So this was my main complaint with boxing.
Okay.
That I believe boxing has taken for granted its fan base and hasn't done anything new to attract more fans. And it's relied on the fact that how long has Canelo dominated? 10 years?
I'm not sure. You know better than me.
Around there?
I guess so. Yeah.
And you're looking at, he's the busiest one because sometimes he's fought a couple years ago, he fought 3 times.
I mean, he's
in 1
getting
year.
towards the end of his career.
Yeah.
He's trying to milk out every fight he can.
Right. But for, let's say he fought Mayweather he
been a
fought
long
Mayweather
time.
10 years. Around there. Because he's been a pro now for
Forever.
15, 16 years. And he fought Mayweather pretty early. So let's just say 8 years. Let's say Canelo has dominated for 8 years. So boxing has relied on his star power. Before that, it was Mayweather who dominated for 7 years before that. So you're looking at the span of 15 years where they've relied on these two guys to carry.
Who's they though, and who's boxing?
Well, I'll just say the overall general boxing establishment.
Who is that? Like you? Who is that?
Let's just say that the 5 groups are together.
Like, are you talking about all the belts?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'll just say all the organizations.
WBC.
The WBC, the IBC, the
Okay. WBO.
all of them. So they've all relied on them to basically keep it going. It's sort of like what the NBA did with Michael Jordan. They relied on Jordan for probably since 93, like his third, third championship. They relied on him as him being the face of the sport, him being how they were going to attract new fans.
But now boxing has not just one after Canelo. There's a bunch. And so I think what has happened is they're realizing that to rely on one is no good.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
So they're getting a bunch now, and that's taken time. Because right now, who you see, they're the kids that fought each other in the amateurs. Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia and all those guys fought each other when they were amateurs growing up.
Yeah.
Tank, all those guys, they all know each other
Yeah.
from amateurs. So what you're seeing is when you start to get good at something because it's taken that long to get good.
Yeah.
And
they're still young.
There happens to be a bunch of them at this time now.
Yeah.
So the boxing establishment doesn't have a choice in that. The people rise up as they rise up, depending upon their beginning ranks. Because the problem is that boxing takes a really, really fucking long time to get good at.
Yeah.
And to get to that level, and then have other people who are at that level with you, that means that from the time between 8 to 14, that y'all had to be boxing that whole time
Right.
and stick with it and not have a bunch of gaps. What's the statistical possibility of that? And right now we're sitting in an amazing age coming through here with the Errols, with the even the Ryan Garcias. I can't believe I'm saying that, but he really has been proving himself. You know, when he got knocked down and came up, I think that was actually, I thought he was proving himself. Do I think he's going to get beat at a bigger fight? I think so, but at least he's fighting and doing something. He's taking on fights that he should be starting to take on now. And I like that he's with Joe Goosen.
Yeah.
Secondly, like the Devin Haney's and all those guys, they've been at this a long time. They're all really quite good, and they're all really starting to peak about the same time. We're in a kind of a nice heyday of boxing where there's a bunch of different guys in a few weight classes to make it exciting.
If you're looking at it just from a purely fight standpoint, agreed 100%.
Mm-hmm.
But then this is my beef. My beef is that management and the politics of it has gotten in the way of it being as good as it could be way better.
Well, they just don't have a dictatorship, and the UFC does. And
But
so
don't you think that gets in the way, though?
so does a dictatorship. They both have pluses and minuses.
Well,
The UFC dictates everything that happens with the fighters. And a fighter has negotiating possibility. That's what holds it up. Each fighter has their own ability to negotiate only past a certain level.
but even so, correct. And a fighter can negotiate. But then each individual organization then, or promotional company, I should say.
It depends how many are involved.
Is a different layer of complexity.
But that's the complexity of our capitalistic environment.
That's what I'm saying.
But that's not boxing.
But boxing is getting in the way of itself
No,
for it to be better.
Boxing is playing those games. There's lawyers, there's promotional companies, there's venues.
Wouldn't you have loved to have seen Pacquiao Mayweather 5 years before?
No, I don't really care either way. Like I liked Mayweather's career. I have no complaints about who he fought when he fought them.
Don't you think it would have been a better fight 5 years before?
Maybe. I mean, maybe. You also have 5 years of experience on both sides too. It's invaluable.
I mean,
Who
but you
knows?
can still say that. You can argue that the peak of their. You can argue that the peak of their best on the bell curve was towards the end.
Okay, I just want you. I want you to look at both of them. And how many times did Manny Pacquiao fight after that and still do quite well?
Well, but
Do you see what I'm saying though? So
Yeah.
like he wasn't past the point where he started to be on a decline yet. Shortly thereafter, yes, but no, they fought within their range. There isn't like a fight, but there's a range of time.
yeah, I guess.
So within that 5-year range, cool. I'm glad they fought. I feel great about it, and I think the same outcome every single moment.
So then here's okay. I'll throw another. I'll throw another thing out there. Wouldn't you have liked to have seen a trilogy with Pacquiao Mayweather?
No, because
wouldn't you have
no.
wouldn't you right now you have liked to see Ryan with Gervonta already?
I would
and
like
then maybe
no.
in 5 years see them again.
No, I'd be cool with getting a fight like Ryan a fight or two before he fights Gervonta, because I'd like to see maybe like somebody just a little bit harder. Like somebody that was able, what's his name, put him on the canvas. That was really a pretty punch, but he
British guy.
He didn't have the power to put him away, you know. So I'd like to see some other guy, just before Tank.
So, but wouldn't you like to see these guys fight more?
No, I really am enjoying about the frequency that they're fighting, because you don't understand what it takes to get ready for these fights, dude, and to change habits. So. You don't understand. Like, my fighters just fought in July. I'm not fighting them till October. They fought a bunch. I'm waiting. I need to have time to develop skills.
Okay.
So if you're going to get ready to fight some other big people, you have to have time to adjust your game. And do you know what it's like to try to adjust your game under duress?
Well, no.
No,
I'm talking about this purely from a fan standpoint.
Yeah, that's great.
So July.
Not going to happen.
So when did they fight? July?
They fought in July.
And they're fighting again?
They'll fight in October. They're amateurs,
so July,
though.
August, September, October. So that's 4 months.
Yeah.
So that means that you could get 2 fights in a year.
No, I don't always. I try to fight them, and I can get, I think, 2 to 4 fights a year. 2 to 4 fights a year, depending on your level, right?
Yeah.
When you're a pro. So when you're a very beginning, depending how much amateur experience you have,
Yeah.
you'll fight every 3 months about.
But
some of those guys fight every month, but that's because they're fighting people that don't even belong in the ring with them.
But the top boxing guys do 1 a year.
Or no, the very, very top. You're talking the top 1%.
Well, the ones that people will spend $80 to see a pay-per-view for.
Yeah, but they're only going to pay for that.
Canelo fought 3 times.
Yeah, because he's trying to make as much money as he can before he retires. He didn't fight 3 times all the time.
No.
So
there have been multiple years where he's fought more than once.
Yeah, when it makes more sense to make more money and
Right.
it's less risk for him and his health.
Right.
What these guys do is a big deal. You're asking them to go do what they're doing and what they do in training camp 4 times a year. Like, that's a lot, dude.
Well, not 4.
No, I'm telling you, dude. Like,
But multiple.
There's more. It's not boxing getting in the way of it.
But don't you think that this is the Mayweather effect of the?
No, it's called the people dying and getting concussed and brain injured and shit like that. And where
dying.
athletes, no, dude, people.
Who's dying?
Different boxers. There's been several deaths over the past few years.
Of old people?
No,
not in the ring.
No, yes, yeah, young people.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not doubting you. I'm just saying.
What I'm saying is, it's just like, you have to be. People are getting smarter about their training. You've got to be able to let them be tough and not stupid.
So this is my pure argument.
Okay.
The purity of my argument. I don't even know if that's the right way to say it. The basis of my argument is that I believe UFC is just doing a much better job of creating entertainment of their B League. Mm-hmm. Let's just call it the B League. These guys that are coming up.
That's nice, dude. You're enjoying them. You're enjoying them getting hit a lot more often.
Well, no. So this is what's happening is that there's 2 shows right now that they're doing. They're doing the Dana White Contender Series, which is the UFC executive team or whoever, their scouts. They go to a bunch of small MMA promotions, right? They could go to Hultquist MMA promotions. They could go to MMA promotions out east. They go everywhere. They go to those and they just watch the fights. And if a fighter who is fighting in these small local shows grabs their attention, they're going to be invited to fight in the Dana White's Contender Series. And it's, I don't know if it's like an 8 or 12 week run where you have 16 to 24 guys that fight. And Dana then selects who he likes and gives them UFC contracts. Mm-hmm. Right. So these aren't kids. Right. These are experienced MMA fighters that have been picked from these small shows to be on this big platform for an opportunity
to see
then
if they
to
can
get a
make
contract.
it bigger. Mm-hmm.
That's a fantastic premise, if you ask me.
Well, it is. It's not a premise, dude. They do it in college sports all the time. They do it in NFL all the time. It's the same thing. He is a one-man show.
Right.
He controls everything. He's like the head of the whole NFL.
Agreed.
All the teams. He picks all the teams he wants from East Coast to West Coast.
Agreed.
He controls everything. It's a different model. You can't compare UFC to boxing.
So then if I was Suleiman, right, Suleiman Jr.,
yeah,
I would pitch to the old man. I would say, listen, we're the one Mexican organization. We've got tons of fighters in Mexico that are fighting everywhere and all throughout La República. Why don't we do something where we go and highlight these small shows, these small promotions?
That already happens. Like, there's different things like the WBC amateur belt and like fights down in California, and there's promoters at those shows looking at. That's what happens at nationals. Promoters watch what the nationals.
Amateurs though. These are pros.
Yeah, that's for them to go pro. Like, they're looking for talent from the beginning. Like right. But
you need to
MMA. You don't have to have been in MMA this whole time. You could be in a wrestler, D1 wrestler, and they're like, we're gonna keep our eye on that D1 wrestler. We think we can make him a fighter, or that kid
but
there
that happens before though. Mm-hmm. That happens before. They don't see them until they actually fight. My point here is that, like, if I was down there, do you not think that the WBC wants more money and more viewership and more programs that are on TV that are selling
but
ads?
They also don't want the work it takes to have to control an entire organization of boxers.
Not the entire, just their set. Like, it can be.
They already tried that. They had those pro leagues across the world. They had pro teams across the world, and they competed with each other. Just didn't make money. It takes too much money. Like, Dana White can have shows, but
I could do. Why don't I go down and pitch this?
Go do it. You should, rather than since it's your beef, you should definitely do something about it.
Well, Dana already did the blueprint for it, right?
Yeah,
it's already there.
Yeah, so if somebody
I would watch it. What do you? I mean, pretend. let's just say that this is the Zone. I mean, I hate the Zone now.
Do you?
Yeah. But let's just say that
I don't
it was.
care if it has boxing on it. I watch it, DAZN and Showtime.
I will watch darts.
Jesus Christ.
Let's say that on the Zone, a little notification popped up, and it was WBC presents the future of boxing, and it was 16 fighters, 8 fights from small promotions.
Well, they already do those things, dude. They have little middleweight. They have little middleweight tournaments and stuff like that.
No, but it needs to be. It needs to be its thing. Everything now needs to be its thing.
No.
You can't rely on word of mouth for this stuff. Like they need to. This needs to be streamed. It needs to be televised.
There's avenues for that, and you get opportunities to, you take the risk for the fight. There's avenues for that.
I'm looking at it purely as an entertainment standpoint of giving.
Yeah, I know, but so I'm never gonna look at it that way, dude. So you win.
Well, no, I'm a fan.
Yeah, you should. You should be a fan.
I'm a fan, and I will actually argue that what I'm arguing for is for more and a better opportunity for fighters who only think they can fight for smaller. It's like Malcolm Gladwell, right? I'll bring this around to Malcolm Gladwell. What does he say? He says, along the lines of you need 10,000 hours to be good at something. He also says that what does he say? He says that you need to, can there be a master violinist in a small Indian reservation somewhere out on the Great Plains? Absolutely. But no one is looking for master violinists out on the Great Plains. Like he talks a lot about that in The Outliers. And that's what I'm saying here is that there needs to be something where you go out and look for spectacular talent in these smaller promotions, smaller towns.
Oh, you know who's doing that is Paulie Malignaggi.
Yeah, you know what?
With
You're
his
right.
Pro Box TV, he's doing that.
You're right. You're right. He talks about that too.
Yeah, and I think that, and there are more people doing those kinds of things. Like Roy Jones Jr., one of his fighters is from Yakima.
Yeah.
One of his main kids, Andrew Murphy. You know, so I don't remember how he got scouted, but something happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's little things like that.
But I'm just saying that
Well,
this can't be.
I don't know about us agreeing. I don't really. To me, I don't care either way. Like, I just want to be able to have opportunity for fights. It's
Right.
set up right now where people with top promoters are going to get more benefit of the doubt in their early parts of their career for longer.
Yeah.
And then there's going to be people who have to work hard for it because there's like a classism kind of thing in boxing. You know,
Right.
you either get your opportunity or you don't. You have to work for it extra hard, or you earned it because you put longevity in.
But there's classism everywhere.
I know that.
Everywhere.
Yeah, so that's just that way.
It's like
So what you're proposing is a way to override that. But
what I'm proposing is a way for the head honchos to realize that there's money making opportunities into actually giving opportunities to these small markets, which is what
that's
UFC's done already.
Yeah, that's cool, but see there's a lot of they just thrash through people in the UFC. It's like a puppy mill, except for a few.
I mean, I don't mean to disagree, but whenever a fighter loses his contract with the UFC, it makes news, and you just have to be so.
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like a boxing fighter is around a really long time. There's a few MMA fighters, right, that are around like a couple.
No, there's a bunch.
Are there?
Oh yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
I don't
there's
know.
a lot.
I can't even speak on that really.
Yeah, no, there's a lot.
All right.
I mean, there's a Brazilian light heavyweight who is 42.
Damn.
Fought a couple fights ago and got the lightweight championship.
Oh, damn.
No, there's
a bunch of old timers.
I mean, this can lead into the other discussion of MMA is actually safer than boxing.
It might be, but they don't spar the same for sure.
They don't spar the same. It is you might completely laugh at me, but I've heard discussions of doctors who say that it is far better to get hit once and knocked out versus hit 800 or 500 times.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
Consistently.
Yeah, definitely if you get concussed at all, yeah, for sure.
And then the other thing that I find interesting is that in boxing they make a big deal about rabbit punches, but in MMA kicks land to the back of the head frequently. And it doesn't seem to be.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah. So they're
just rules are rules.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
all I know.
Rules
but
are rules.
so I don't know.
Okay. I don't even know if I should say this, but that made me think of the Pritchard Colon, that Puerto Rican fighter.
Fuck.
Where, I mean, I think we've talked about this already, but that injury did not happen in the ring.
They never do.
Yeah.
No.
Right.
They never do.
So, I mean, boxing and MMA fans will know what we're talking about, but
yeah, it sucks so bad. That's what I'm saying. Like, I take it real seriously, my job. And so when you say you want to see people fighting a lot more, it's not about the fight. It's about the training. And the training is really hard.
Yeah.
And you have to watch how many punches people are taking because they need the right amount of duress and the right amount of work before they're going to have a hard fight. But you don't want them to take all their punishment in that training.
Yeah.
You have to be mindful of that.
Right. So that's the one case we can, that's super tough.
So I get what you want, but I think it's more practical. It's more practical than it is like the conglomeration of the boxing heads preventing things from happening. But
yeah, that won't happen.
Oh, for them to work together? No, because it would. I mean, there's too much money individually. Like they just.
Yeah.
Like if 5 parties are negotiating for a contract, that's because all 5 parties are going to make a ton of money. It's stupid that it takes that much, but that's what happens.
But it's exponentially more difficult now because these fighters are their own promoters.
I know.
I know. But I mean, and then
a long time ago, people tried to unionize boxers. They tried to create like a boxers union so that there could be something where they could pay into, where injured boxers would have something, and then they were trying to get it to be where it was more of a pool kind of thing that you're talking about.
Yeah.
But there is no vested interest in that. Dana makes money, not 5 promoters. Dana's company makes money. There's 5 to 10 to 20 million different promotional companies. The MMA ones, the only big ones are UFC and Bellator, right?
Well, yeah, there's Bellator and Pride.
And Bellator and Pride usually sell their contracts to UFC. And that's how they make money.
That's rare, though. The last one.
But that's how they can make extra money, is selling their fighters' contracts to UFC if they want to feed into it.
That hardly ever happens, though.
Okay.
The last time someone came over was Michael Chandler. He came over from Pride, and that was because he was already, I believe, viewers fact check me, his contract was already done with Pride.
Okay.
And he came over.
Because that happens in small-time boxing contracts where a small-time promoter will have a fighter and then they can sell their contract. It's not a lot, but they'll sell their contract to a bigger one.
I just want there to be more. Like, that's the whole thing. Like, I want to see more boxing.
Well, there'll be a lot more boxing now. It's just...
Like, don't even get me started of how they dealt with this whole shutdown thing.
Well...
That is... We've already, I mean, you've...
Move on.
The listeners didn't know what my whole thing was.
That's okay, another day.
There was no bubble. They didn't even try to have a bubble. NBA had a bubble.
That's so
WNBA
nice.
had a bubble.
Long live the bubbles.
UFC had a bubble.
Long live the bubbles.
I would have loved to have seen boxing in a bubble.
Then you would have had to pick certain fighters to be in that bubble, and they all are their own entities. That's not going to happen.
Man, you know what? I need to be part of this. there's so many shows that could be done.
So many. It's that easy. That's why it's being done.
You know what it is? I believe it's just pride that they just don't want to.
It's not that easy.
They just don't want to give a little bit to cooperate.
You have to get the viewer. Like, it's very hard. The only places that
are you saying that these organizations don't have the resources to market themselves?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that.
I know I totally put words in your mouth.
Yes, completely.
I know. But
yes, I'm saying the president was over there. That's what I'm saying, Carlos.
You know what I mean.
That's exactly what I said. To quote me.
So then the question is, why don't you think they are doing this? Because, I mean, I get that you are fighter focused. You're fight focused.
That's all. My only need for a promoter and a manager is so that my person can be put in a position to have a fair opportunity. I don't have any fighters that started from the bottom and won nationals a bunch or anything like that. You know, I just have fighters that come along later. They're just as important. They feed a system and they get something out of it. They learn a lot, and these kids, they get some opportunity. They can have an opportunity of a lifetime. That's a possibility,
right?
And that would be super cool. But mostly, you know, I'm just out here grinding away. I understand you have to grind away. You have to shovel dump truck loads of shit to do the work, and that's all you do. And that's really what it's about. Now, even in your ideal scenario of one world, one love boxing, then you still have to just...
Within one organization.
Yeah, you just still have to just grind from the bottom up. Maybe it would be nice for the fans to have it because it wouldn't be so confusing about who's world champion and what belt and what entity is jockeying with what. That would be nice. But half the time, that's really what gets people talking. It really, the more people are complaining, that means people are paying attention, which is stupid. I don't watch fights as a fan. I can't anymore. I'm ruined.
As a tactician.
Yeah, and I don't care about names or anything other than, like, I need to pay attention to maybe a weight class, and I look at what's going on in that weight class. What are the trends of fighting styles? Like, you know, what gyms are putting out those fighters?
Yeah.
Like, where can I learn from? Like, what are they doing that I'm not doing? How are they getting those fighters put out? And how are they building a legacy of it? Like, that's what I care about.
Okay. I understand. There's not 1 ounce of disagreement. The only thing that I will add is that if you just focus on that, I mean, that's your job, right? You have actual fighters' health, and you are responsible for that. The only issue is that Jake Paul.
What? He's not an issue to me. Do I want to hang out with the dude? Oh no. I will say, from a completely outside perspective, not knowing a thing about the dude really.
Yeah.
Not knowing him at all, not having any inside scoop whatsoever. He seems to me to be a smart business person. He seems to me.
I'm rolling my eyes.
Well, maybe.
Okay, hold on.
Okay. He seems to me because
Tricia.
what is the current business model? Using social media to make stupid amounts of money. He's got it canned down, and he said not everybody's cut out for it. Well, he apparently is, because he's making money at whatever he's doing, supposedly, if he's making money. I have no idea. I know he comes from money, so I have no idea. I don't care. He gave Amanda Serrano an opportunity. I went to an unbelievable
we
fight.
didn't even talk about that.
It was amazing.
Oh, man.
So thank you, Jake Paul, and thank you, Eddie Hearn. Because
I like Eddie Hearn.
That fight
Tricia,
was amazing.
Tricia, you just reminded me. The fact that there is a promoter from the UK that is making this much noise is just an indication of how much the promoters and the organizations over here are lacking. Because I mean, we
Bob
referenced
Maron is really pretty old, and Oscar.
You have a dude who is head of one of the most important, most prestigious. He's 93 years old.
Yeah.
And he's still pulling strings.
Yeah.
And you mentioned Paulie Malignaggi.
Yeah.
He has been talking about how European fighters suck for 10 years. Can't say that anymore.
Yeah.
Right? You couldn't say that 3 years ago. So like this is like the men's basketball
It's
Olympic basketball team.
It's vintage U.S. mentality to think we're elitist and we're all this and we're all the best in the world.
Exactly.
Rah, rah. I know.
And not paying attention to what's actually going on.
Always. That's always.
I think that's a humongous flag to show that we are doing something wrong.
Well,
all of these things are doing something wrong. If
you think that's
I think it is, because the fights aren't great.
Oh.
I mean, when I get the DAZN notification that Anthony Joshua is fighting at 3 p.m. because he's in London, I start watching it this is my my cousin is part of the audience here, and wife knows that there are certain times where the sports world lines up for me just perfect, where I wake up at 5:30 in the morning because there's going to be an F1 race at 6. It's over at 8. Then there's UK boxing that starts at 10. It goes until like 1 or so, 1 or 2. And then there's UFC preliminaries that start at 3 and they go until 7. And then UFC main card starts at 7 and it goes until 10 or 9.
That sounds like an amazingly productive day.
I love those days. I absolutely love those days. And then in the past few months, they've lined up that way a few times.
Oh, jeez.
With with the F1, with the boxing overseas, and then with either boxing or MMA or UFC. I love it. But I try to watch those European undercards, and oh my goodness, they're horrible. It's like any fight, like the tournament that you just went to, all those fights guaranteed were more exciting.
Yeah, I'm sure of it. I mean, there's a lot of low level.
But Eddie Hearn masterfully has turned that into an event. But he's young, right? He's young. He's optimistic. He's future driven. He knows.
He also is. He's a little more people in.
Yeah.
He deeply cares for Anthony Joshua. You could tell.
Does. Yeah.
Like
he does.
you could just
he
really.
Fights next week.
You could really tell that Eddie Hearn has a soft spot for
Who do you
him.
think's going to win? Who do you think he's going to lose the rematch?
I don't know.
I'd never liked Anthony Joshua as a boxer.
I like him. I just think he has a hard time with sturdiness under pressure.
He's not tough.
I don't know if he's not tough because those are some big boys hitting each other. So I don't know if he's not tough, but he's just not sturdy enough. When he's meant to box and move. He's not meant to be sturdy and stand there and take it. But regardless, Eddie Hearn I think he's more boxer focused, and I think promotional companies tend to be more money focused. Like he wants to make money, but at least he's boxer focused.
Did you listen to?
At least I think he is.
No, he is. I agree. He is. But he is equally as focused of making everything an event to make money.
And he's a business guy.
Yeah.
He really wants to.
But
but also because English fans, they're used to events like soccer, like rugby. They're big time events.
Yeah.
Like
70,000.
Yeah, they know how to put on, and then everybody sings, and it's an environment, and it's a thing, because when you go, say, everybody's kind of stiff at American sporting events, or they get drunk and more obnoxious. Not that people aren't obnoxious and drunk at
those.
Yes, but
they tear down stadiums and cause collapses.
They cause bigger problems. Like
we have
small issues like that.
We have better construction over here.
Yeah, we have better construction.
Wife and I were on
control.
vacation in Mexico once, and there was this the hotel we were staying at. Next door, it was a construction site, and they had this big banner along the fence that said, "Finally, American quality construction in paradise."
Oh my God. What the hell?
Well, you know what? I was okay with that. Absolutely. Because, I mean, there's no OSHA, there's no building codes.
Yeah, but I have, if you could say you feel okay about all things, but watch how people get shit passed through anyway with OSHA.
No, that's true too.
Yeah, whatever.
I know.
False sense of security. It was like,
It is. I mean, we see those
it's
videos
like
all the time.
we were talking about camping out in the woods.
Yeah.
And the false sense of security that a tent brings you. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I couldn't dare sleep in a hammock in the open, but my tent.
Yeah,
that
will protect me from this bear.
Yes, of course it will.
This
I love my false sense of security.
this
I'm
bear
going to cling to it.
cannot penetrate this.
No. The hammock's
very-
much less safe. Yeah. No.
I agree. But, okay, Eddie Hearn, young, get Bob Arum out of there. Like, we need young people.
Yeah, I think that's starting to happen a little bit more,
Yeah.
more fighter focused people.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll see what happens. Andre Ward is taking an interest in, working
that would
with
be
fighters.
fantastic.
I don't know what he's doing promotionally wise, but he's definitely taken more of an interest in fighters. Like, he was behind Shakur Stevenson's for
Right,
maybe,
yeah.
mentoring him a little bit, stuff like that. I don't
Right.
know. I think cool stuff, like, for people that really could use some mentoring
Yeah.
in this business. But I don't know.
Yeah,
Boxing's
it's not Jake Paul.
boxing's fine to me. Jake Paul is going to be short-lived. He's going to create.
I hope so.
I'm sure. I mean, it's
That's
just
me knocking on wood.
Well, that's how social media always is. I'm glad Amanda Serrano got to buy her mom a house. I'm glad.
With that last fight?
No, two fights ago, Jake Paul gave all his extra purse money. He gave a percentage
Okay.
to each fighter on the undercard, like
Right,
a
right,
couple
right,
fights before her big fight in Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
And
Have you kept up with any of this controversy over why they canceled this Hasim Rahman Jr. fight?
no, I haven't kept up with it, nor do I care. Other than that meant Amanda didn't get a fight, and that's not
That's
cool.
what that's the horrible thing.
That's a problem.
But Tricia, have you ever experienced? When was the last? I mean, this is a big event that was canceled because of someone missing weight.
Yeah. Well, usually, has that happened in boxing? I mean, it's happened in boxing, but they fight anyway. They just don't fight for the title.
Or they get
Another opponent.
they get a
last-minute
stand-in
replacement.
Yeah.
Yeah, usually. So that's
Right.
what.
This is why so he went on and said, so the main, I've read a whole, I hate Twitter, first of all.
Yeah.
Twitter
I don't
is
even look at
horrible
it.
to my mental health. And I notice it because if I'm on Twitter more than a few minutes for 2 or 3 days at a time, I am even more grumpy than I normally am.
It's a serious problem.
I know. I just need to delete it and then never go on it again.
Yeah.
But there are a few people that I like to listen to, and they only do Twitter. So the main consensus on Twitter was that the Jake Paul Hasim Rahman Jr. fight was canceled because they had 1 million tickets sold a week before the fight. And they were in Madison Square Garden. And supposedly the starting point to do anything at Madison Square Garden is 500,000. The term was to turn the lights on, to even them to let you in the door. It was going to be 500 grand. And they had only sold 1 million tickets a week before the fight. And that's the primary reason why. I mean, it could have been because of the weight stuff. So the Jake Paul went on this thing and he's like, we had the weight set at 190. He couldn't make 190, but I agreed to 200, but then he changed it and then wanted it to be 210. And for whatever reason, Jake Paul just said 210 was too much and he didn't want, they didn't want to do it. So they just canceled it. But then I thought, okay, fine. Do the weigh-in. You don't make weight. And then you bring in your B guy. Because for these super main events, there's always a stand-in. in UFC, you're going to roll your eyes at me, but in UFC, for all of their championship fights, for all of their main fights, they have someone who will take the place of someone who, for whatever reason, can't make it.
Yeah, I think that happens a lot in boxing too. Yeah,
Right.
I think
So it's like, so you're telling me that you don't, so you, I mean, I ranted about this for like 15 minutes to wife, which, does she care at all? No. Not at all. So it's just basically to the wall.
Yeah.
So then I went on this whole rant that said, are you telling me that no one in the boxing community who weighs 190 would have said no to a, and then this is they canceled the fight a week before the fight.
Yeah.
So this is what I said. Is there no one in the boxing community who weighs 190? Is there not a fighter
That's a bunch, I'm sure,
who would have not stepped in with 5, 4, even 3 days notice to fight Jake Paul?
Of course they would.
Of course there would. Why? Like, there's no reason to cancel the whole event.
Well, there is if you're a social media star.
Exactly.
Like I said, let it blow. It's short-lived. Oh, it will be short-lived.
This is, look at this. My levels are peaking of my little
Are you
rant.
having a heart?
It is, because it just
Heart
shows
rate?
that he's just full of crap. And then he went on. So then this is days before the fight, where I said you can go. I'm sure you can go here and find someone who weighs 190 that will step in and fight. For sure.
If anybody's going to want a piece of part of that money.
And how much better of a fight would that be? That's that's Rocky right there.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Right?
Yeah.
Isn't that the premise of Rocky?
Yeah, that'd be fun. But he
didn't do it.
That's not what they're doing.
So then I thought, this prick, he is just a self-serving prick. So not only did he not even entertain alternatives for this fight to actually happen, he then took Amanda's opportunity away.
Oh, yeah.
And all of the. So then what he did was, a few days after that, it was like, okay, because I am so cool and so benevolent, I am going to give everyone who is on the undercard, not the prelims, half of their purse. And he thought that this was something magnanimous.
Well, I can tell you, Patrick Ortiz, who's a promoter who I really miss, he used to do, I fought under him. He was wonderful.
Yeah.
I think Molly McConnell fought on his show a few times. He took care of a few people when their opponents didn't show, and promoters don't always do that. Like, if a guy shows up and his opponent doesn't show, that they don't get paid. But Patrick would pay the person who showed up. And that, I always, there's some good promoters out there. So, yeah, but Jake Paul isn't doing anything amazing.
No. That's why the industry is full of crap. And in essence, what he was trying to do is that he was trying to buy real boxing fans. I don't want to say loyalty, but to say, hey, I'm a good guy and I love
Yeah, who knows, dude? I don't really care. I went to an unbelievable fight at Madison.
You just take all the wind. You just take all the wind out of my complaining sales.
Yeah, because because why would I want to spend my time talking about a person I know. Really.
I shouldn't do that either.
Yeah, so my levels look good. Yours, how do yours look over there?
No, yours are good.
Yeah,
mine peaked for a little bit.
Yeah, they peaked a little.
They're big. All right. Let's go and grill up some burgers. How about that? I'm hungry.
All right, cool.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time, Coach. I love you.
Thank you.
Everyone, don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcasting app. I'm on all of them: Apple Podcast, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio. Don't forget to follow on YouTube. Tricia, where can they find you?
ArcaroBoxing.com. No, Arcaro Boxing on IG. It's usually the easiest way, or for the older folks, Facebook. But I think we're on Twitter too. I just go to one place and it goes everywhere.
To Twitter.
Yeah, I don't get on anything other than Like one little app, and then it goes to all the apps.
There you go.
I can't do that. I
It's
can't
too
do that.
much.
Yeah, it's too much.
Twitter is.
It's all too much.
I hate Twitter.
I want to do it less.
It's all stupid.
All of it.
But yep, I will put all of that information in the show notes. And what I've been putting in the notes is get fit, learn to box, #box on.
I like that. That sounds really nice.
It's like that's what you should do. I need to go and
Instead of a 2 margarita lunch, you should come to the gym, and then you can go to Rancho Bravo and have your tacos.
you know what? I've thought about that, but I don't want to go back to the shop all sweaty.
Sponge bath, man.
Where?
I have a utility sink.
You know what? That might not be a horrible thing to do.
All right.
All right. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate it. I need to get... Okay, anyway, we're good. We're fine. All right. Adios.
Adios.
Take your time, I'm standing straight. I'll just wait for my final cue. A battleship on call. How many more days do I have to wait for it to rain on my parade? It's hard to stay where I am now. Let them lions roar until the elephants align, till all the tamers resign.